eSports is growing rapidly to become the leading spectator sport in the world. In recent years, global viewership has grown to be in excess of 455 million viewers, with revenues in excess of $1 billion. Today, stadiums are packed with sports-crazy fans, larger than even the FIFA World Cup and Super Bowl. With its rapid global growth, the IOC were even considering esports to be included in the 2024 Summer Olympics. In Malaysia, there are close to 2,000 professional esports players, with total prize money awarded in recent years in excess of $19 million. The government has since included esports in the Sports Development Act under the purview of the Youth and Sports Ministry. Yet, what is it about this sport that is so attractive? How has it risen from being purely a hobby to a full-time profession? On this episode of Cuba Cerita, we invite one of our country's leading professional esports players, Hazim Salihuddin, otherwise known as Kye. He will share insights into this fast-growing, otherwise still misunderstood world of professional spectator sport. Together, let's meet Kye. Let's understand, Kye, what is your why? Assalamualaikum, salam sejahtera everyone. Welcome to this episode of Cuba Cerita. It's so great that we have been going along with so many nice new episodes. Recently, we had a doctor, we had a photojournalist, we had all sorts of guests that have been coming onto the show, and we continue to look for other inspiring individuals. Before I introduce our guest for today, I just want to also allow you to know that this time around we've also got a partner who's helping us deliver this particular episode. It's Kaotim. Kaotim is a online digital insurance brand. They provide Medicards. It's easier to now apply and get qualified, and the coverage is even better, and of course at a much more affordable rate. And Kaotim is a service provided by Takaful Malaysia, the leading Takaful insurance service provider in Malaysia. So thank you so much, Takaful Malaysia, for joining us today also. Our guest today now is someone who hopefully relates to a larger but yet younger audience that normally watches Cuba Cerita. And sengaja Coach wanted to invite someone like him because I'm so inspired by someone who's at such a young age yet shows such maturity and wisdom that I don't think I had when I was his age. And he comes from the world of eSports. Now, even eSports is something that I'm not totally familiar with, but when we decided to invite him and he accepted the interview, he forced me to learn a lot more about this world that I otherwise would not be familiar with. So please join me today in welcoming Hazim, otherwise known as Kye.
Hello guys, hello everyone. Thank you, Coach. Thank you, Coach. So I'm Hazim, but people in the esports world know me as Kye. I was previously well known as the captain of Team Pa in the game of Valorant. Yeah, so that's about it.
Cool. And I understand Valorant is a game. It was developed, and there are competitions, and we'll come to that. But what fascinated me, Kye, was that esports itself is such a hugely growing spectator sport. Of course, I come from the generation where we are very traditional in our sports, viewing football, tennis, and the like. But I was even seeing that today, esports ni dah jadi macam even larger than all those major sports. And even esports is even being considered as an Olympic sport.
Yeah, correct.
Okay? So it's amazing how much it's grown. And of course, it's become very professional. There are franchises and all that. And I'd like to learn a lot more about that. Mm-hmm. But let me first of all, let's learn with the audience about you, Kye. I mean, other than when did you start esports or gaming, tell us a bit more about yourself. Are you from a large family, asal daripada mana, and so on and so forth?
Alright, sure. So about the background of myself is I asal Shah Alam.
Okay.
Shah Alam, KL, Selangor boy. So nothing special about that. I'm 24 this year. And honestly, 24 sounds young, But trust me, in the esports world, I'm one of the seniors already.
Okay.
Yeah, correct. And I think for my gaming, it's very for my gaming experience and gaming background, there's a lot of levels to it. But I would say I first started gaming like very very first time gaming was when I was 5. I was 6. And I was at that time it was called Game Boy. It was like a retro handheld, very small one, right? So I was like fighting over that with my brothers, getting our turns playing that. But as for competitive gaming, I think I started at 11 years old, and the first one who inspired me to actually like get into PC gaming was my brother Afan. He was the one because we shared a lot playing the game called Pokemon in the Game Boy Advance, and like I think we connected a lot. We got closer as a sibling, so he was like, "Come play this game with me. It's called Dota." I'm pretty sure a lot of like Dota is one of the most well-known game in the world, if it's not the most well-known game. And ever since that, I would say a lot of my competitiveness came from that. It came from the inspiration that my brother gave, the support that he gave also, and the motivation for me to actually like become better than everyone else in the game. Because in each and every game, each and every match that I play, even though it was like just casual game, I couldn't help but to feel like, oh, I want to be the best. Like even if I win this game, if there are stats, I want my stats to be like twice or triple of everyone else's. And my brother kept on saying that, oh, you're so much better than everyone else. So you're so good, you're so talented. So combine that with the way that I was brought up by my parents, where my parents, the thing about them is that they always put such high standards to their children. Like let's say our exams, they always ask us like to get A, right? Even though like I see my friends all like, even when they're getting B, they're like, oh yes. I'm like, if I get B and I say yes to my parents, that would not be a good night for me to sleep in, right? Yeah, but at the same time also there's even when they set such high standards, but they also give very high moral support as well. So they keep on giving confidence to their children. My mom always calls me her genius and so on, telling that you're so much smarter than everyone else. And combine that with the competitiveness that I've built, I've always felt like, oh, I'm going to be so much better than everyone else. And that confidence really pushed me to excel in my talent. But I would say throughout the whole years that I played, from 11 years old, then I went to asrama, SBP and boarding school. And even in boarding school, of course, you didn't have the privilege to play all this. But during the weekends, I just go to cyber cafes.
Really?
Yeah, I go to cyber cafes just to play the game.
So you were very passionate about it.
Correct.
Growing up, did you play other sports, or was this?
I played a lot of other sports.
So you're multi-skilled in other games too.
And I would say my competitiveness was built in gaming. I wouldn't say esports at that time, but it brought to all of other sectors in my life, all of other aspects. So during my boarding school, I was the national player for rugby. Yeah, I played rugby. I also played handball, football, a lot of other stuff. But rugby was like my go-to but I got injured so many times that my mom begged me to stop playing
and play games instead.
Yeah. And that was like one of the few times she was like, it's okay if you play games, just don't get injured. Yeah. So and I also like very competitive in everything else. I also like went into debating. I was like but went to the national level of the debate competition and so on. So that competitiveness transferred to other aspects, even like education, studying and so on, right? Yeah. So but the last part of my gaming background is me actually going into the professional or semi-pro level lah.
Mm.
So I've played the game Dota,
Okay.
which is a completely different game than Valorant.
Okay.
It's more like a strategy game.
Alright.
So I've played that game for 11 years.
Okay.
So from the age 11 to almost like 21, something like that. I played that with the passion of going to professional lah.
Okay.
Yeah, so I've set my mind when I was like 14 to 15, I'm gonna go professional in this.
In this field.
Yeah, in this field, because I know I was like, I had that talent. I could
Okay.
feel like every time I play,
Okay.
I'm just like, I don't feel competition from everyone else.
Wow.
So I know that, okay, I have this talent, and my brother also kept reassuring me and so on.
Mm.
But growing older, I realized that you start to see things more realistically. And sadly as it is, the Dota scene in the country, like local wise, was not conducive. Was very very backwards as compared to other parts of the world.
I see.
Yeah, so there was almost to none my hope to go professional, at least locally.
So tell me something about this. I understand, for example, that players who become professionals, you can come from any part of the world.
Correct.
So is it, I mean, again, and when you're on these platforms and you're performing and you're winning, don't you get noticed by other international franchises or sponsors?
It takes a very, very long way.
Okay.
Yeah,
So are there like agents who promote you, or is it really just open field?
That's the thing, because esports is such a new industry.
Okay.
So to see this process, it takes a very, very long way. It takes a very, very long time, and at the same time, there's not a lot of credible platforms as compared to traditional sports. So like traditional sports, let's say football in Malaysia, we have like FAS, Liga FAS, even all the Liga kan in Malaysia, all the cup.
Yes.
So even like, let's say, don't look at the Liga to get recognized to the international level. To get into all these leagues, we have all the social leagues, we have the M3, the semi-pro level, M4, and so on, right?
Okay.
But in esports, we don't have all that.
Oh.
Yeah, so we have all these tournaments and so on, but mostly it's like privately organized by some people and so on. Yeah, but like I played Dota for 11 years and I couldn't find a way for me to go professionally and get noticed.
Okay.
All the professional Dota players in the country were mostly Chinese and mostly went to China.
Oh, went to China to play?
Play for like China team.
I see.
But they are Malaysians. Yeah, so I like these names that all of the gamers would know, like Nothing to Say.
Okay.
Xiao 8, not Xiao 8, Xnova and so on. These are very popular people. But they all went to China teams.
So they physically even have to be in China.
Correct. And the last time that a Malaysia team went to the international, which is like the largest Dota 2 competition in the world, was 2015. So I knew
Quite
like
a long while back,
yes, and I knew like, okay, like probably it's time for me to forget. But at the same time, COVID came.
Okay.
And the game Valorant came out. So like it started very casually. My friends were like, "Hey, come out play. Like this seems fun.
Okay.
Like this is very different from what I usually play, but you know what? Let's do it. It's fine. I like games anyway."
Okay.
So I started playing. Then when I started playing, I grew my interest and passion in the game.
Yeah.
But let's just say when I first started the game, I was at the lowest rank.
Okay.
So like there are ranking systems in the game.
Yes.
And I was at the lowest rank. There are like rank 1 to, let's say rank 1 to 10. I was rank 1.
Okay.
But that didn't stop me because I knew that I had this talent of like growing my skills. And combined with the mindset that I have, I know I could grow better.
Okay.
So in like 1 year, 1.5 years, I kept playing that game every single day, every single night. And I got to like the highest rank.
Is that rank 10?
Yeah,
or whatever?
correct. And when I got to that rank, that's when I just went to Facebook. Casually went to Facebook. I just said looking for team.
Okay.
Because I just wanted to explore.
Yes.
Before that, I started playing tournaments also, but I played with my friends, played it casually, but I wanted to start to go competitive. So then one guy hit me up. It was a very sad, I would say, amateur team lah. But I was like, I have to start somewhere, right? Yeah. So I just went in. And at the same time when I went in, even though it's an amateur team, but I don't take it lightly.
Yes.
So I went in and I started to say that, okay, I'm gonna build this team from the start. I want to have a good environment in the team. I just say to the players that to be professional, you cannot wait. Like the title of professional doesn't fall off. That doesn't fall down from the tree.
Yes.
You cannot wait until you get paid. Only you want to work like a professional. You have to work like a professional first.
Yes.
Then you will earn that title, right?
Yes.
So I started bringing that culture, that mindset, that environment, even to amateur players.
So this
who
was
knew
a
nothing.
group of amateur players.
Yes, correct.
They came
Correct.
to know of you. Come and join our team.
But I would say that was my starting point.
Wow.
And because I had that mindset and my work ethic was good, so that gave a very good impression of me lah. So starting from the amateur team, I started to play to another amateur team that was better. To another amateur team that was better. Then I started to build connections. And one day, suddenly out of nowhere, one of my friends from who were playing for Team Pa at that time asked me, like, do you want a trial for us? Like we have to go through a trial period first, then only you will get picked up.
Okay.
So that's how it all started.
So Team Path is the Malaysian team.
Correct.
And the members of this team are drawn together as
Correct.
professionals
Correct.
to compete in professional competitions.
Correct.
Okay. Tell me something, Kai. You did say at a young age you wanted to be, you saw this as a career, maybe as a professional. What a professional means in those days, is not very clear because it was a new sector, kan? But going back to this journey, kan, you were still studying. You came from boarding school, and you know, I mean, let alone your parents did allow you to and of course, alhamdulillah, Rizki Kai, you were good in a number of things. So maybe Rizki, you, it's just a matter of which field do you actually become successful in, kan? But are there like, you know, stages that you really need to remotivate yourself? You talked about, you know, shifting from Dota to Valorant. Is that, for example, like, sorry lah, I'm maybe a bit layman in this, or what am I noob in this? But is it like changing an entire sport, or is it just like a different field of competition?
So for the transition from Dota to Valorant, it's like changing to a different sport.
Wow.
So it's like if we compare it to traditional sports, it's probably like from playing basketball to playing football.
No way, serious?
Yes, it's very different. Wow. It's very different. So Dota, but both require skills, but it requires like completely different set of skills.
Okay.
Yeah, but some skills are also transferable.
Yeah.
Like your knowledge of the game, how do you analyze the game, and so on. So I would say that my experience in Dota has helped me immensely in terms of analyzing the game. That's why in Malaysia also, people know me as the IGL. The IGL stands for in-game leader. So it's like the strategies of the game.
Okay.
Yeah, and I would say like it's because of my experience playing a strategy game. So when I come to a more skill-based game, I have this knowledge and this capability to analyze the game like people couldn't see. Yeah, but at the same time, when you like ask like stages to remotivate and so on, definitely. And I would say being a professional esports player is not as fun or as laid back as people see as it is lah.
I can imagine.
Like, especially people at my age or like even younger than me now, because like I said, I'm one of the seniors now. Yeah. But at first also I was like, being a professional esports player is like the dream. But at the same time, it is the dream. It is my dream. It is fun. But it's a lot more taxing physically and mentally than I imagine it would be.
And I think this is where, you know, in my research of this particular subject matter, I was even amazed by how much time, effort, mental focus, let alone physical focus, is being put into this. I can't really, how do I say, define how do you actually, even measure it sometimes. But for example, as a student, you've gone to university, you've got a great degree, and alhamdulillah, you just graduated. Congratulations to you too. But you kept up this discipline of training every day for long hours beyond your classes and your responsibilities as a student. I think to me that's inspiring, because sometimes we think we have to separate the two, but in actual fact in life it's better if you do keep all these doors open. Correct. So that you don't sacrifice one for the other. Nah?
Correct.
But tell me a bit more about this thing about you just talked about how does one maintain, for example, this high level of ability as a professional esports player. Can you maybe describe something for us?
Sure. So first of all, like regarding, like let's say being a professional, like keeping such a high standard playing the game, but at the same time like studying and so on. My mindset in life, my principle in life has always been, when there's a will, there's a way.
Yes.
It's just a matter of whether you want it and whether you are capable of doing it. Some people want it, but you just don't have the ability to do it, and that's life, right? So like even though when there's a will, there's a way, we have to be realistic, right? Some people are just not, they just don't have the privilege. Some people just don't have the capabilities, and that's completely fine. It's just not meant to you. That there is a key, kan? But I've also been that kind of person. I think this is a double-edged sword of for my personality. But when I'm passionate or when I'm interested in something, basically when I want to do something, I do it to the absolute best standard that I can do. But when I don't want to do something, you tell me 10 times to do it, I won't do it wholeheartedly. Yeah.
Well, thank you for coming on Cuba Cerita. I'm glad you wanted to do this.
So like there were a lot of stuffs where my parents were like, "Hey, try lah, exploring this, try lah to do this." I'm like, okay, I'll look into it. And I've never looked into it once, because I just cannot be forced to do things that I'm not into.
But I mean, kudos to your parents, Salihuddin and Jamila.
Yeah.
I mean, alhamdulillah, they raised you also well.
And regarding like keeping such a high standard playing the game competitively, I think what most people fail to realize about, this is my personal opinion, but I think if we compare it, it's kind of true, is that training for esports competitively, professionally, I would say is quite significantly harder than traditional sports. And the reason being is because for traditional sports, it's more physically taxing. It's of course like mentally taxing, especially at the highest level. But let's say if you like play it, it's more physically taxing, and training for it is more physically taxing. But it's more at a macro level.
Okay.
So this is where the more specific terms come out, because when, let's say if you want to train for football, so you still have to train your whole body. You have to train not just your whole body, not just your technique, but you also have to train your fitness. So you need to have the stamina. So you need to have the stamina so that you don't get injured, so you can play for long minutes. Then you have to train your technique, how you shoot the ball, how you cross the ball, how and when you want to pass this and so on. And the mental comes during the game, right? During the game, when you have to like be more confident than your opponents, all those stuffs. But that one is transferable to esports. But for football, let's say if you're a professional player and you don't play for, let's say 3 weeks, 2 weeks, 3 weeks.
You go on vacation, for example.
Yeah, you've gone on vacation. That's completely fine. I mean, like your technique is still there. You still know like the technique is still there, and so on. Probably what you need to work on is more towards your fitness and stamina, right? But for us esports player, because it's so micro and specific, leaving the game for 3 days is already so detrimental.
Really?
Yeah, because you're playing, or what we're playing here is pixels.
Okay.
So like let's say like imagine it's like most comparable to throwing darts.
Okay.
So like if you lose that precision, it will cost you the game.
Wow.
And like for us, we play a lot on muscle memory.
Yes.
So that's why we have to train every single day, every single night for long hours just to get that muscle memory. So from point A to point B, this is how much we need to move our mouse. From point A to point C, this is how much we need to move our mouse. Vertically, how much we need to move our mouse. Movements with the keyboards, how like techniques in terms of shooting and so on. So not playing for a few days and losing that little tiny bit of precision would cost you, like at the highest level, because at the highest level everyone can shoot, so everyone is precise.
But then again, if it sounds very intense, and I know I've seen a lot of YouTube videos of these esports professionals. I mean, how do you balance it? You obviously will have your ups, and of course there'll be your times where you are maybe, what do you call it, jaded or stale. What's, again, maybe I don't know whether it's a professional secret of yours, but how do you maintain this mental focus, at the same time calmness, and constant ability to do this repeatedly?
I would say it differs from like one person to another, but a lot of it comes from passion, and a lot of it comes from good habits.
Such as?
So like good habits and discipline, I would say.
Okay.
So like to be consistent in the game, you need to be consistent in especially your preparations. So like even in the team, as the captain, I always emphasize to my team to be very disciplined in preparations. So like come 30 hours before the 30 minutes before the training. And when you come before the training, make sure you warm up. So we have like this warm up routine, so you need to be consistent in the warm up routine as well. So like in the warm up routine, you cannot like today I don't warm up, or like today I do a different warm up routine. It will mess up your mechanics somehow. So you need to be consistent in your warm up routine, what you do, and so on. You need to be consistent in terms of your mindset coming to the training, and that plays a very huge role, because when we went into training, sometimes there were some days where things happened. So like probably two of my teammates are late, not to the training but to the preparation. So like they came only 10 minutes before, 5 minutes before, and they couldn't do their routine, and their mindset coming to the training was still not in the game.
Yes.
They were still whatever they were doing before.
Yeah.
Or like they were like thinking of something else and so on.
Yeah.
And our training on those days were horrible.
I can imagine.
Yeah, were horrible. We couldn't fully capitalize on the training hours, because during training we call it scrimmage.
Okay.
So during scrims we would play against teams from other regions. So Philippines, Thailand, Japan, Korea. We would play teams from these regions, and we play like a tournament, like a match. So there were scores, of course, recorded. So during those days where we couldn't prepare ourselves, or even like one or two of us couldn't prepare ourselves, we would get smashed.
Of course, I can
We would
imagine.
get smashed, and that's why those good habits, good discipline, good routines, those are the key to like consistencies lah, and to like preparing for such a high standard of the game. So I would say definitely in anything, actually, preparations is very important.
And the team coming together.
Yeah, correct. And not just like in terms of the physical preparation is already like very important, but even your mindset or your mind coming to the game, coming to the training, right? And not just that, even your energy level. Like let's say if you come to the training feeling tired or feeling lazy, then.
But these are all habits or good practices which would apply across anything that you do in a team. And so this team of yours, so I understand they're like 5 core players and maybe one, what you call it? Is this still called substitute or additional player?
Yeah, reserve.
Reserve player?
Yep.
All of you are brought together. You have to gel as a team.
Correct.
You have to, in a way, like each other.
Yes, correct.
You have to tolerate each other. I guess you're the leader of that too, so you got to be the guy who brings everyone together.
Yeah, correct. And I think this is like mostly true in, I would say, Malaysian culture lah. At least in Malaysian teams, but they overlook, or they don't really pay heavy attention to the importance of culture.
Okay.
Yeah. So when I join any team, the number one thing that I first focus on is the culture and environment. And I remember my first ever conversation with the manager of Timpa, which his name was Magat. He was the one who interviewed me when I was offered to trial. The first thing that I said to him was, Magat, truthfully, I'm not going to focus about the mechanics in game, the winning in game, and all the in-game stuff. I just want to build. I just want to build the right culture and the right environment for the players to play professionally, to act professionally, to be professional. Then everything will come along in game.
Wow.
Then, ever since that, before I joined in, Timpas never won a single tournament.
Yeah.
After I joined in, we won majority of the tournaments in Malaysia, and recently, I think a month ago, we were we won the best PC team of 2023 in Malaysia.
Wow, congratulations.
Yeah, so in 1 year that I joined.
1 year.
In 1 year that I joined.
And you didn't know these guys before that?
I didn't know, and I knew like one of them because he was the one who introduced me. But before that, I never knew any of them. And now, all of them are close friends of mine.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And they all followed me to the new team because they want they like how I led the team and the culture that I brought in. But that's the thing, a lot of people don't really realize how important culture and environment is in a group setting.
Yes,
and
very important.
How important leadership is, and how important the bond, the relationship between the teammates, the group mates, and so on.
Yeah. Because not everyone can be on a high all the time. So you have to sort of like understand that too.
Correct.
Now tell me, I also know that, of course, from Zaman, YB, Sadiq also, the ministry had already, or rather the government had already accepted eSports as part of the National Sports Act. The country has been sending teams for international competitions. I think it was Asian Games, even Southeast Asian Games, SEA Games. So I guess people like you also get called up to the national team. Right. And of course, there's a huge following in Malaysia. There's in fact, I was even reading that the prize money that's been awarded, that Malaysians have enjoyed, runs into the almost like 20 million US or something, over the years. So there's a lot of money. And I guess it's being even treated more seriously now, even hopefully one day it will become the Olympic sports. Who knows, you may even be the first Olympian gold medalist for Malaysia, and here we are, we got you on Cuba Cerita already. MashaAllah.
Inshallah.
Yeah. Okay. I want to maybe touch on aspects that that you need to look out for, pula. Because I think this relates to our audience in whatever you do.
Correct.
How do you know, for example, you're not overdoing it? I'm not going to ask how long you're going to be doing this, but how do you know, for example, that, hey, I maybe need to manage my emotions, my drive. I'm so driven in what I do, but okay, maybe a common word used is maybe how do I ensure that I don't, get to burnout in terms of this thing that I'm doing, this profession that I'm doing. What do you do?
I think number one is acknowledgement and realization is very important. The thing that the phrase or the sentence that I often use to my teammates, this might sound like a bit harsh, but I'm the kind of leader that I'm very chill and well versed, but at the same time I'm straightforward. So when I don't like something, I straight up say it. But I always say to them, it's good to be confident, but don't be delusional.
Good to be confident, but don't be delusional?
Yeah.
Tell me more. What do you mean by that?
Because sometimes because confidence plays a very important role in terms of us trying to beat the other team, because it's a mental game. So the more confident you are, the less hesitations you have, right, and the more decisive you are. But sometimes it comes to a point where I feel like we are overhyping ourselves.
Okay.
That it feels like we are being delusional. right? So like we feel like, oh, we can beat everyone like this and so on.
Boleh makan
Like,
semua lah.
yeah. But this one does not relate that much lah. But I would say in terms of the burnout,
yeah.
And the overdo is that people need to acknowledge it first. Acknowledgement and realization is the first step. So like I think everyone would definitely realize or acknowledge, realize that I feel burnt out, but they don't acknowledge. So that's when like you will keep on diving into that hole, right? So when I start getting burnt out, first of all, it's very important that you identify the cause of the burnout. So the cause of burnout is not just overworking and overdoing it lah. It could be a lot of other factors. It could be like your environment. Is it the environment that you're in is like not conducive to your mental and physical? Or like probably is it because the hours that you've been working in, probably that's like in terms of overworking and overdoing, or is it the way that you've been working, right? Because like for us lah, esports players, like it comes down to the posture, to the setup that we play in. Probably the setup is like not very conducive for professional players and so on. But probably in other sectors, there are like, you know, the way that you've been working also plays a huge role. So I'm a realistic person. So whenever something comes out, especially a problem, I want to find a solution. So when I get burnt out, I usually ask myself, why do I get burnt out? Most of the time it's the hours I've been working in lah. Like we practice for 6 days a week, 5 to 6 days a week, and we only have like one off night. So one off night to ourselves and so on. So it's very normal to get burnt out. But there were like very seldom lah. But times when I was burnt out because of the environment. Right, because the vibe or the environment of the team was not something that I was looking for. Like there were bad bloods between the teammates and so on. So those contributed to the burnout as well. And when I know the solution, that's like when you get burnt out, you need to know the solution, because if you don't know the solution, then it's just gonna keep happening.
Yeah, you need to be able to address it.
Correct. So like for me, because like I said, most of my burnt out came from my working hours. So what I do is just I just either communicate for an off day, or I just work around it. Because like I said, my mindset has always been when there's a will, there's a way. So like my working hours were mostly nights, right? So it's like from 7 to 12 or 1 a.m. Or sometimes more intense is like 4 to 6, then 7 to 1 and so on. But how I work around it is either I ask for an off day or
address it
or at night I just practice like usual, but I just go do something that I know I would enjoy and love lah.
Okay.
Introducing Kaotim Medicard for you and me.
What about me?
What about me?
What about me? What about me?
And me?
Kaotim Medicard from 38 ringgit per month for you, and you.
Kaotim!
Welcome back. MashaAllah. I'm just listening with amazement at Kye, and I'm just like so engrossed. But you know, I hope you are feeling the same thing about there's just so much that comes out beyond this esports gamer. And you know, I just want to thank you so much again, Kye, for joining us.
No problem.
You know, I'm going to ask you. You know, when we talk about, okay, first thing, this is what I know. Esports globally really took off when the Koreans, apparently, in the early 2000s, really just embraced it and created, you know, facilities and environments. And of course, along with it came the commercialization. But to you as an esports player, and this professional aspect, obviously now there's money involved and all that, in anything that you do, how did you manage that aspect? Was it, I'm not going to say money is not important, but, and you did say that even when you join a team, you look at the culture, you look at the environment that you're going into. But how do you, as an up-and-coming professional sportsman, how do you manage this understanding of commercialization and professionalism, especially when it comes to, finance and all that?
So, like, of course, money is very important in terms of survival, right? But what people have to understand, what we have to understand is that, for me, 24 years old, I like I said, I'm already one of the quote-unquote seniors.
Okay.
So it means that the age range of the professional esports players are very young. Are very young. So most of these will be students, and if not students, probably like they pause on their studies. So probably quote-unquote money is not the biggest factor for these professional esports players, because like especially for us PC players, it is well known to own a PC you need to be at least sufficient enough, right? And it's not like a normal PC, it has to be a gaming PC. So usually these PC players, of course, they are like more unfortunate ones, but they are well supported lah, I would say. But of course, the financial part really plays a huge role lah, in terms of that. And we would look into this in both the local and also like internationally. Okay. So for local, I would say, truthfully, realistically, I would say, if you're just playing local, especially as a PC sports player, I don't think it is sufficient as a full-time job profession. As a part-time, it's very doable, but as a full-time, I think the local PC, the computer scene, is lacking behind in terms of other parts of the world. Like let's say for like Koreans, the South Koreans, and the Japanese, or even like the Western part of the world. But for mobile, I think it's doable, because for mobile esports professional players, they are paid significantly better because the market is larger and there are a lot more viewership and audience, and it's completely understandable because mobile is like very easily accessible to everyone, not unlike PCs, right? But internationally, it's very I would say it's like traditional sports also, right? So like it's quite brutal. The industry is quite brutal, where you can be replaced anytime if someone catches up to you, or if you're like lagging behind, and like your lifespan is not that long. But if you go international, then I would say you're very comfortable lah.
You can make a good living.
Yes, correct. And so like and by going international, I wouldn't just say like playing at an international level, just going abroad. So like let's say if my resume is like I get picked up by a Korean team, I would say I definitely could survive, because the pay and the commercialization and so on differs very much than from one country to another. So like let's say for South Koreans, for Korea, right? Each and every universities, majority of the universities in Korea, they have these esports stadiums, esports facilities
as part of the universities.
As part of the universities, correct.
Advanced.
Yes, and even all these top teams in Korea, they are very well connected with these universities to provide guidance, coaching to these universities to make sure that these players will be the future prospects.
And they are so many years ahead of the rest of the world, maybe even compared to the US today, kan?
Correct. So in terms of the commercialization, of course, it's definitely very important. But I would say for up and coming professional esports players, especially in Malaysia, because we're talking locally, right? It's very important for you to be realistic, for you to know your time, and for you to know your priorities.
So one day you do maybe see yourself maybe competing on the international stage?
Yes.
That's good.
And
you have that desire,
yes,
kan?
Yes.
Good.
And I would say be realistic and know your priorities, is because like we all come from different backgrounds with different stories, right? So some people might not have the privilege to pursue this because of life circumstances or priorities. So you just have to be realistic in terms of that. And one more thing about being realistic is quitting is underrated.
quitting is underrated.
Yes, because I
tell me
believe
more.
that in everything in life,
Yeah.
people usually say quitters are cowards, but I would say quitting takes courage, and you have to know quitting takes courage. For you to decide to quit something, it's not easy, and it takes courage, and you need to know when to quit for everything in life, right? So like, let's say, like you're making money, but at the same time not sufficient enough to support whatever that you need to support. So like, let's say for me, at least now I only have to support myself. Luckily my parents are like good on their own, so like they don't need like the support of their children, and I'm not married yet, but I am planning to get married soon. So sooner or later, if I don't make a better living out of this, I will have to quit. And I'm not ashamed to say that. I'm not ashamed to say that I might quit this, or I might retire, quote unquote retire sooner than I thought, because the local scene is not being well paid as compared to other local scenes. Yeah, so that's definitely something that I would say very, very important for up and coming professionals.
You know, Kai, I'm listening to you and I'm smiling. Not so much as what you are saying, but how you are relating things. There's a high degree of maturity in you.
Thank you.
And minta maaf lah, I don't mean to make you feel uncomfortable, but I see there's a lot of leadership potential in you.
Thank you.
I go back to this point. I believe that you are, inshallah, dirizkikan. You could have been, or you can be successful in anything that you do.
Inshallah, Ameen.
You obviously have that leadership ability in you. I'd love it one day if maybe you were even one of our country's type of leaders. You know, have you ever been enticed into politics, for example?
Honestly, I was actually.
You were? Okay.
I was very, very. I would say passionate in terms of actually, quote unquote, leading or change, like being the changing force of the country lah. I would say.
Wow.
Yeah, and honestly, deep inside, I think it's still buries deep inside me. Like there's still a part of me that, like, but I feel like given due to recent circumstances, or like you know,
what you see.
Yeah, you know, so
that's
it's
the
kind of
thing.
demotivating.
Your generation, you know, and again, it makes me feel much older, but your generation can make this change, you know, and I hope that, who knows, you know, eSports happens to be the platform that you are performing.
Definitely.
We don't know, and I'm not going to ask you where you're going to be in 5 years' time, because that's maybe too long away. But I honestly believe that someone, you Kai, inshallah, kan, Hazim, Kai, you can be a great role model. You can be, you are a great role model. You are a leader in many ways, and I hope that the audience who's watching, including hopefully a younger audience or so who are looking at you, can say, wow, there's a lot of takeaways from this type of, you know, this type of session, you know. I certainly would love to one day be amongst that audience and watch you and admire you, how you conduct yourself on that stage. But I also take pleasure in knowing that whichever stage it is, inshallah, rizki you, berkat your lovely family, your parents, and I know them so well. They're such lovely people. You know, they've obviously raised all of you well, and dari segi akhlak, dari segi kebolehan, dari segi ilmu, you know. So I think, you know, this has been a great session, Kai. I can only say all the best.
Thank you.
Mudah-mudahan diteruskan rezeki and stay as you are, grounded and practical and intelligent in what you do. Yeah.
As for me, like probably like this is my last few words lah to the audience, because I've always wanted to say this, and I feel like in every sharing session I try to include this, but I would say don't be afraid to fail, and don't be afraid to do mistakes. That's one of if not the biggest lesson in my life, because from whatever that we talked about, it might seem like, oh wow, this guy is like great, like wow, there's like A+ in his resume and so on, but this is like, there's a camera in front of me. Of course I'm going to say things that are great, but if I'm going to say things that are not great, then Like there will be a lot of black dots and so on, and that's completely fine. What people fail to realize is that I always say this to people who ask me for advice. I say that go and look back to all the obstacles or all the moments in your life when you feel like I'm screwed, I'm gonna die. This is where the end of my life. This is like everything that's gonna go downhill. And look at where you are now. And do you realize that you have 100% success rate going through those moments?
Kan?
Every single time you thought that that was the biggest failure of your life, you went through that, and you have 100% success rate, 100% win rate over those, right? And like all the mistakes in your life don't define who you are. And trust me, I wouldn't be here without all those mistakes and all those failures in my life.
Well done.
So there's definitely no shame in failing. I would say like one of my biggest failures that actually led me to this, even though I went to SBP, I didn't finish my high school in SBP.
Oh.
By the 4th year, I actually had to leave the SBP due to some circumstances.
Okay.
But it was my mistake. It was my failure. Definitely, it was my failure.
Yeah.
It was my biggest failure. It was one of my biggest regrets. But without that, I think I definitely wouldn't have been here.
MashaAllah.
100%. I wouldn't even say I might still be here. No, 100% I wouldn't.
And you learn from it, you realized it, and alhamdulillah, sometimes even it happens a much earlier phase of your life.
Correct.
It enables you to really get up again and be better,
Correct. And
faster.
definitely thankful to my parents for still loving me despite all those failures. But the most important thing is they still kept believing, and they still and I think because my generation would be the next parents' generation, so it's very important for us to realize that also. So that definitely that is like my biggest lesson is that your failures don't define who you are. And like for us Islam, the Muslims, right? I find it ironic. This is just like a bit random,
please,
but
carry on.
I find it a bit ironic when people kept on kecam or like saying that people don't change. Like let's say a criminal is convicted, drug addict ke, pencuri ke apa semua. Of course it's bad and so on. But people would label them as those for the rest of their lives, right? And I find it ironic because we believe in repentance.
Kan?
Kita believe in taubat.
Ya, taubat.
Kita believe in taubat kan. But because of I find it very ironic because I find for me there are still people who label me for my mistakes. And I'm like, bro, that's completely fine. That's completely fine because who I am to you don't define who I am to everyone.
But then
else.
again, there always will be people in life who look at those negative things. But think about it again. Alhamdulillah, rezeki you, there are a lot of good points that people can also reflect on about you too.
And definitely what people need to realize is that your mistakes don't define who you are. Your failures don't define who you are. Who you define yourself is who you are and who you're going to be. And people need to start believing in themselves more because whoever you believe yourself are is who you're going to be. So if you believe yourself as a failure, trust me, you're going to fail in a lot more stuff that you intend to.
You're going to give in to those things.
Correct. And if you believe that you're a success and you're going to work towards that, then unconsciously you're going to put a lot more effort than you intend to.
Well, Hazim, Kye, good. I really feel that beyond your profession, there's so much more that you can contribute to this nation, and you've got friends, you've got a community. MashaAllah. I can only wish you well, and it gives me a lot of pleasure in meeting young people like you, because it gives me a lot of hope that we've got so much young talent out there with the right type of mind and attitude that can just leave our nation in a good place in the future. Thank you once again.
Thank you also.
I wish you all the best. I certainly have had a great time meeting you today, and of course interviewing you, and I can only say that I hope maybe this is going to be a door opener for us to invite other young people like yourself.
Hopefully,
come to Cuba Cerita. Sehingga itu sajalah kita kali ini. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope you took you too took a lot away from today's session, and I certainly is a lot more than what I expected. And please, if you like what you're watching, please subscribe to us. Please leave your comments so that we know where we can even be better. And we look forward to seeing you in our next episode. Sehingga itu, Assalamualaikum. Have a good day, have a good rest of this week, and we look forward to seeing you again. Bye-bye.